So welcome, 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 our remarkable, brilliant colleague, Marilyn. We so appreciate your consistent leadership and solidarity. And as always at SETC, we begin all things by giving thanks to our Creator, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Marilyn, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for this invitation. It's really a privilege to participate in this initiative that you're leading. I think it's a great opportunity. First, maybe to let you know, I'm joining you today from the Canada Council for the Arts offices, which are located on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. So yeah, what do I do? I'm a program director at the Canada Council for the Arts, and one of the program director. And under my portfolio, I think what we do is support the sector development, the infrastructure, the support to the arts sector. And we have a really interesting initiative that supports innovation and transformation of the arts sector. And so what we're really looking to accomplish is help rethink, reshape, rebuild on more solid, more sustainable, more equitable grounds, a sector that's also better connected with it, with the community that it's supposed to serve and reach through the arts.
It's incredible. Thank you so much. So my next question, what's inspiring you right now? What has you curious, or what's keeping you up at nights?
What's keeping me, I mean, I sleep really well, but I do have a lot of questions and thoughts that are always keeping me, stimulated to keep doing the work that I do, talking with community leaders and other thought leaders across the community, across Canada, with the arts sector, but also cross-sectoral conversations. I think right now, we'll all agree that the arts are maybe more relevant than ever in trying to really tackle some of the complex issues. The arts are a really powerful way to bring together communities, to increase social cohesion, to drive social change, promote healing, and maybe reconciliation as well. So I think, what's really keeping me up and going is that we have really a great conversation with passionate people. And we're trying to make connections with other sector and trying to see, perhaps we're all trying to achieve very similar goals. I mean, all of your colleagues is improving the wellness, the well-being of communities across Canada. So perhaps instead of doing it, in silos through our own lens, how do we maybe get together, share learning, share knowledge, share approaches, to see how we can maybe tackle these, systemic complex issues like climate change, social justice, health and wellness, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a lot of work and it's a long-term strategy.
It definitely is a lot of daunting work, and I appreciate your tenacity and your resilience in this work. So it's a perfect segue to my next question. What challenges and barriers do you face in your work? And what are some of the approaches you and your colleagues are taking to overcome some of these challenges and barriers?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, currently the context for, inflation, increased cost of living, artists are amongst these communities that are facing a hard time, surviving and doing the work that they love. And as we see that this work is important, how do we continue to support individuals to have a career and to continue to do the work that they do, knowing and the impact that this work has on communities. And so the challenges are multifaceted. It's a challenge of health, wellness, ability to continue to do the work that you do, issues of equity, issues of climate change that are affecting the work that we do, but also that is affecting the world we live in. How do we contribute to all of this? And I think the way that we're approaching to overcome this, it's really, to me, through collaboration, through collective actions, through dialogue, through connecting and building bridges between the work that we do and the work that you do, for example. I think this initiative is wonderful in that it does connect all the parts of, the social impact sector to see and learn from one another and see how we might want to leverage knowledge.
Absolutely. I always feel like relationships will always be cultivated, and we need to build these communities of practice of thought leaders and practitioners. Oftentimes, we come together in crisis, and you
Yeah.
can steward relationships in crisis. They should be stewarded before and cultivated. So definitely, I couldn't agree more. And once again, I appreciate the kind words and warm sentiments about this platform that my colleagues work so diligently at maintaining. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work that you'd like to share with us?
We have priorities. I think for Canada Council, the priorities are definitely continue to support the diversification of the sector, trying to be more and more relevant to more and more people, to provide, the ability. Obviously, we provide funding, but also stewarding those relationships and the rethinking a little bit of how arts and culture are lived across this country, how accessible art and culture should be across the country. So we have priorities that relate to providing better access to different forms of art, different artists, new and emerging artists. We have, obviously, reconciliation is a big priority for us. We have priorities for supporting, thriving communities in the north of Canada. And so lots of new collaboration with Indigenous colleagues and communities. We have priorities around how are we better stewards of the money that we have and the privilege, which is limited, and how do we think about our responsibility with this funding to distribute in a way that really supports a more thriving, more resilient sector.
I couldn't agree more. Incredible. So, perfect segue to my next question. How do you feel about the future of arts and culture in the context of Canada? Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Are you hopeful?
I think the arts will always live on in different ways. I think the question for us in the piece that we want to maintain is arts as a profession, as a recognized professional practice that needs support and that needs recognition for the impact that it has. So for us, really, some of the investments we're making is to how to better demonstrate that social good, the social impact that the arts contribute to continue to advocate for people to participate in the arts, to support artists, to pay for their work, to pay them adequately. So we have conversations, of course, about, all of the social programmings, in Canada that affects all of the populations, to support that sector. So I think, of course, we're optimistic, but we know there are challenging times for all of us. Housing is a situation. How do we provide adequate space? How do we keep artists, where they want to practice? We've seen a little bit of people leaving the big centers because they can't afford to live there. There's displacement issues. So optimistic, I'm always optimistic. That's why I do what I do. But I think we need to find new ways of supporting. Times are changing. We need to adapt our ways of supporting the sector. And for me, it's through cross-sectoral collaboration and action.
Indeed, indeed. I couldn't agree more. And that is interesting, the intersection between arts and just housing and the fact that folks do get displaced. And that concept of the starving artist. Like I recently had a conversation with one of my colleagues, and a senator was trying hard to ensure that the CERB could help artists because a lot of artists deal with very precarious and gig economy type work. So once again, I appreciate your leadership and really framing out or conceptualizing some of the intersectional challenges that the arts and culture sector, ecosystem, and individuals play inside this work. Once again, I give thanks. So my second last question, how do you feel like in terms of success, like what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
Well, when we're talking about sector transformation, I think we have to be patient. It's a journey, it's a continuous improvement process. And so success looks like, equitable access to arts and culture, equitable access to participating and receiving support and recognition for the work that you do. And for me, I would go as far as to say success looks like a better integration of cultural practices and artistic practices in the work that everybody's doing. We can look to some of our colleagues in Indigenous communities that don't really make a difference, or a segmentation of I'm an artist, or this is just integrated into practice. And I think once we reach something similar in our communities and society, it will probably feel a little bit different. But I'm thinking, generations down the line, what's the part that I can play to bring us closer to that goal?
Indeed, indeed. And it's so important to have, as when we talk about reconciliation and just the leadership in our Indigenous communities, that 7th-generation thinking. It's really
Mhm.
because most
Mhm.
folks don't know what they're doing on Saturday, and some sectors can't see past their nose. So definitely, it's really important to have that level of line of sight in this thinking of those that are coming behind us, and making sure that we leave the space and these ecosystems better than we found them. So once again, I applaud your leadership and your candor. So my last question, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and our viewers?
I invite everybody to reach out, start a conversation with us, invite us to conversations that matter to you. Let's see how we can contribute, artists, arts organization, how we can connect you to the work that we do. And I will do the same.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much, Marilyn, for your leadership, your consistency, and your solidarity, and all the work that you're doing for so many. I so appreciate you and your colleagues. And as always at
Well,
SETC, we close the way we began this conversations interview by giving thanks to our creator, by acknowledging the original stewards the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Marilyn. I appreciate you.
thank you for the work that you do.